Today we're going to learn 7 critical thinking barriers. First is egocentric thinking. Although egocentric behaviors are less prominent in adulthood, overcoming egocentrism can be a lifelong process. Egocentric thinking is a natural tendency to view everything in relation to oneself. This type of thinking leads to inability to sympathize with others or analyze or evaluate various perspectives. Sadly, since the most egocentric people are not willing and or cannot see this characteristic flaw within themselves, this increases the difficulty of overcoming the barrier. Second is groupthink. Groupthink can lead to unhealthy decision-making patterns like egocentric thinking. It is difficult to overcome. Breaking the cycle requires individuals to stand apart from the group and question the opinions, thoughts, and popular ideas. This can be especially difficult for adolescents, but teachers can play a key role in encouraging independent thoughts in action in students. So I encourage you to think independently. Next is social conditioning. Unwanted assumption and stereotyping leads to social conditioning. It does this by blinding us from the realization that we are even making assumption and stereotyping at the first place. The ability to think outside the spectrum is a great asset because most learners do not realize they are being conditioned to think in a certain way. Biased experiences can prohibit critical thinking because they prevent thinkers from being fair, inquisitive, and open-minded. This kind of thinking can also prevent individuals from using experienced reasoning or common sense to make informed decisions. Schedule pressure. Time constraint often serve as a barrier to integrating learning opportunities that supports critical thinking skills. Test scores and mandated teaching measures often result in teachers covering a great deal of content in a short amount of time. Arrogance and intolerance. True critical thinkers do not welcome arrogance and intolerance into their minds. It is nearly impossible to find the best solution to problems with closed-minded mindset. Without critical thinking skills, individuals often react thoughtlessly and recklessly to situations. What they should do, however, is assess and take responsibility for their choice while accepting the reward or consequences that follow their choice. Critical thinking is a domain general thinking skill. The ability to think clearly and rationally is important whether we choose to do whatever we choose to do. If you work in an education, research, finance, management, or legal profession, the critical thinking is obviously important, but critical thinking skills are not restricted to a particular subject area. Being able to think as well and solve problems systematically is an asset for any career. Critical thinking is very important in new knowledge economy. The global knowledge economy is driven by information and technology. One has to be able to deal with changes quickly and effectively. The new economy places an increasing demand on flexible intellectual skills and the ability to analyze information and integrate diverse sources of knowledge in solving problems. Good critical thinking promotes such thinking skill. It's very important and in fast-changing workplace. Critical thinking enhances language and presentation skill. Thinking clearly and systematically can improve the way we express our ideas. In learning how to analyze the logical structure of text, critical thinking also improves comprehension abilities. Critical thinking promotes creativity. To come up with a creative solution to a problem involve just not having new ideas. It must also be the case that with new ideas being generated are useful and relevant to the task at hand. Critical thinking plays a crucial role in evaluating new ideas, selecting the best one and modifying them if necessary. Critical thinking is crucial for self-reflection. In order to live a meaningful life and to structure our life accordingly, we need to justify and reflect on our values and decisions. Critical thinking provides the tools for this process of self-evaluation. Good critical thinking is the foundation of science and liberal and democratic society. Science requires the critical use of reason in experimentation and theory and confirmation. The proper functioning of a liberal democracy requires citizens who can think critically about social issues and inform their judgment about the proper governments to overcome biases and prejudice. So this is what we need: reasoning, evaluating, problem solve. First, we have analyzing, reasoning, evaluating, problem solving, and decision making. Problem solving is the result of critical thinking. It involves discovering and analyzing problems with the goals of finding the best possible solution to overcome the obstacle. One must then complete the following steps. First, identify the problem. Define the source of what is wrong. Then define the problem. After it is identified, the problem needs to be fully defined. Third, forming a strategy. How are you going to solve the problem? Four, before you start solving your problem, you need to organize your facts. What do you know? What do you not know? The more information you have, the better. Allocating resources, determining if this problem is important and a high priority to solve it. If it's not as important or less of priority, the more of a priority it is, the more time, money, and other resources you might want to use. 6. Monitoring progress. This is key because you're not making good progress in reaching your goal. You can re-evaluate the situation and look for new strategy. Evaluating the result. No need to evaluate your result to determine if that is the best possible solution. So that's all for today. We will continue next week.